It's time for the Las Vegas Sportsline. Brought to you by the Westgate Las Vegas, home of the world's largest race and sportsbook and the Super Contest.
Money won is twice as sweet as money earned.
Presented by WagerTalk.com.
And we're up and running with the Tuesday edition of the Las Vegas Sportsline. It is brought to you by Superbook USA, and that means Jeff Sherman. In a little bit, we'll talk a lot of NBA with Jeff, plus NHL, golf, soccer, lots of NFL as well. That'll be a busy segment. Ralph Michaels is here. All right, Platinum's at the controls. I'm Dave Cokin, and we are glad to have you with us. I want to throw this in now before I forget. Tonight, the latest edition of Chin Music, which airs from 6 to 7 right here on The Sports Leader. Russ Langer and myself, and among our guests tonight, Ricky Rodriguez, who's the pitching coach for the Aviators, former White Sox great Bill Melton, and Ralph, the best leadoff hitter in the history of baseball. Who would that be?
Ricky Henderson?
Yes, sir.
Wow, that's pretty good that I got it. Yeah,
Ricky Henderson on tonight's Chin Music. So make sure and check that out between 6 and 7 Pacific time right here on ESPN Las Vegas. We're going to cover the NBA with Jeff. I want to start with the NHL. So I'm watching last night's Game 6 between the Bruins and Blue Jackets. And late in the second period, with the Bruins up 1-0, Charlie McAvoy, their defenseman, rises up with a shoulder, and he crushes Josh Anderson, knocks him flat. And as soon as I saw it, I said, oh, that's a major penalty. That's a bad penalty. Called a 2-minute minor. And I couldn't help but actually tweet that Cody Eakin and every Golden Knights fan has to be just shaking their head right now at this call. I mean, it was way worse than what took place in Game 7 at San Jose. It should have been called a major. The officials didn't call it that way. How bad was it? McAvoy actually meeting with league officials today. I don't know if there's been any resolution yet, but he could be looking at a one-game suspension. I tweeted and wrote a quick blog story after what happened in San Jose that, change the rule right now to allow for replay so the officials on ice can get a look at it and see if they called it right. But no, you can't do that. So they got this call wrong. It worked out for me, Ralph, because I had the Bruins. And instead of a 5-minute major where the game could have turned, 2-minute minor, no big deal. Bruins go on to win 3-0 and eliminate the Blue Jackets. But that's a bad look for the NHL.
Wasn't your initial reaction on your tweet that he would be suspended? Yes. Yeah. So, and obviously you watch as much hockey as anyone. So, the thing about it is that, hockey, there's enough stoppages where if you have a game-changing play in a playoff game, I agree with you, Dave. What's one more minute? It's not ruining the game or the integrity of the game. It's helping it. And perhaps are refs afraid to call them because of the Vegas situation?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But if the two referees, there's two refs and two linesmen, if the two referees have a chance to watch that play again, because they might have missed whether there was intent or the level of destruction on the hit, they might have missed that live. How long is it going to take to look at it again? On a penalty like that, there should be a replay in place or a buzzer system where Toronto buzzes and says, you got to take a look at this, and you got to get the call right, because that might have changed the way that game got played out. If that's a major penalty, it's a good chance Columbus ties the game with a 5-minute power play. And who knows? They might be going back to Boston for Game 7. Instead, the Bruins kill it off and then scored shortly after that, and that was the end of the game.
How about this for a proposal? Both referees watch it. One neutral party at the league watches it. All three have to agree to change it.
There you go. That's
3-0.
fine.
It has to be 3-0.
I've got
if
no
it's
problem
2-1,
with that.
then no problem. It stays.
But you've got to be able to look at this stuff. It's 2019. And to not be using the technology that's available is just, to me, absurd. I'm not saying use it for everything, but for incidents like that, you've got to have just used all the checkpoints you've got. All right. Meanwhile, that series is over. The Avalanche Shark series is not over. They'll be heading back to San Jose for Game 7. Colorado never trailed last night. Blew 3 one-goal leads, but they got the one-goal lead that mattered the most in overtime. And Colorado has a chance to knock off the Sharks. We know what the Vegas fan base will be rooting for in Game 7. It won't be the Sharks.
I mean, what an emotional game. Lead, tie, lead, tie, lead, tie. And then I think San Jose scored with, a couple seconds left in regulation?
It was pretty late.
Yeah, the last goal. So, hey, you know what? Is there anything better than Game 7 in the NHL?
NHL or NBA, I don't care which. Yeah. I mean, Game 7s are something special. Meanwhile, we're going to save the NBA talk for Jeff Sherman coming up shortly. But first, we'll get to some baseball, and we'll look at some of tonight's games in the MJ Christensen 4-at-4.
1, 2, 3 into the 4.
Put them fours up. Put the fours up, I said. Do it right now.
Tonight's action is just around the bend, and the guys want to get your night off to a great start.
4.
It's the Las Vegas Sportsline's 4-at-4.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. Unbelievable.
And we'll start in St. Louis with the Phillies take on the Cardinals. St. Louis, they didn't care about having no time off after getting roasted in a series against the Cubs. Phillies had some travel problems getting into St. Louis. But the bottom line is the Cardinals get a 6-0 win in the series opener. Tonight they'll send out Dakota Hudson, young right-hander who I'll talk about in a moment. Aaron Nola goes for the Phillies. And Nola, after a terrible start, is starting to round into form. Now, Hudson is interesting. He's made a mechanical change where he's moved from the left side of the rubber to the right side of the rubber to try and get, I guess, more angle with his sinker, which was not sinking and was getting just knocked all over the place. And the early returns have been very positive. He had his best outing of the season last time out. So, it's one of those things where you have to maybe put a little star next to the early games that Dakota Hudson pitched, but you also have to put a star next to the early games that Aaron Nola pitched. Ralph, for some reason, he started slowly, but he's starting to look more like Aaron Nola again.
Yeah, back-to-back starts, 1 earned run, and, giving up 7 hits. And, you look at the game, I'm going to just bring this up. It's an angle. This isn't the Joe's angle of the day, but for those that are playing off a team that was on the road and got shut out, if they're on the road again the next day with no rest, those teams have gone under the total 40% the last 3 years, and have gone under 60% the last 3 years and under 63.4% the last 4 years. So those bats don't get going after a shutout. They do tend to go under the total.
Mariners take on the Yankees tonight. Marco Gonzalez, the left-hander, on the mound for Seattle. Mariners have a good record when he starts this season, and he'll go against Tanaka for the Yankees, who has not been real sharp of late, but the Mariners are going in the wrong direction in a big way right now. I know they had the 10-0 win on Sunday, but that's been about the highlight lately. This Seattle team is not hitting the baseball. The pitching has been sketchy, and it really is starting to look like that 15-2 start was one of the all-time flukes out of the starting gate. This is not a very good baseball team.
Well, what did Seattle do? They took a trip to Japan, 2 early wins, and they just rode that momentum.
Yep.
6-16 since, 4-14 as a dog. Yankees are playing incredible for who they have, who they're lining up. 14-5 their last 19 games. Incredible job by the Yankees playing who they are with how many players on the IL? 10? 10.
Oh, yeah, it's fluid. It changes every day because they'll get somebody back and lose 2 more guys. It's phenomenal. Look, you've got to tip your cap to Aaron Boone and the leadership on that team, which is, they've had every excuse to get off to a terrible start, and they haven't. But you wonder at some point, are these injuries just going to start to have so much of an impact that they do begin to decline?
There is some regression, yeah.
Yeah, it's just difficult to envision them playing at this level with the injury list not getting any shorter. Well, let's go to the Twins and Blue Jays, and talked about this one yesterday, and talked about it last week, actually, and that's Martin Perez, a complete journeyman with the Texas Rangers, who's gotten a new lease on life pitching for the Twins. He was absolutely brilliant last night, and the thing is, he didn't have his cutter working last night. He was not commanding that pitch well, but everything else was working, and Perez with another brilliant outing for the Twins. Tonight they send, he's their ace, Jose Barrios, although the fact is they've got 3 guys pitching at an extremely high level right now because Odorizzi's pitching well, Perez is pitching well, Gibson hasn't been that bad, and Barrios remains very tough. I think they're 6-1 in his 7 starts this year. He'll go against the Blue Jays, and for Toronto, it's been a crash since that brilliant weekend sweep that they had when Guerrero got called up, but since then it's been straight downhill. Aaron Sanchez will pitch tonight. He actually is, I hesitate to say this because he did not pitch well in his last start, and I am not a big Aaron Sanchez guy, but they're kind of playing their best baseball when Sanchez is on the mound. So this could be a good matchup tonight.
Well, Sanchez has only started 2 home games. Started against the Tigers in the first series, started against the A's. He's 2-0 with a 0.0 ERA in his 2 home starts.
Not bad, huh?
But you look at Berrios, and I will say this. I love Berrios, and I used him last week, but on the road, he does have a 4.26 ERA, and those are against 3 teams that all have losing records. So there is a home road dichotomy there when he's on the mound.
Yeah, that's been ever since he came up. I don't know why he's not nearly as effective on the road as he is at home, but the Twins are playing some tremendous baseball right now. Tough to get in that team's way, and it looks like whatever bargains might have been available on the Twins, not anymore. They're a pretty big favorite tonight in this game, Ralph.
Best team in the division. I'll say that as an Indians fan with Kluber and Clevenger on the IL.
Well, and the Indians can't hit.
Yeah.
I mean, they're hitting like .213. And I don't know what the problem with Jose Ramirez is, but you take the last 2 months of last season and the first month and a half of this season, and he's been kind of lousy.
Yeah, in the playoffs especially.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, yeah.
One more, and that's the Diamondbacks and Rays, and all is well in Tampa because the Invisible was back last night. Blake Snell was absolutely sensational. Tonight, it's one of the openers for the Rays. Stanek will start. I think it's going to probably be Beeks after that. And the Diamondbacks will have their work cut out for them against this Tampa team.
A's lost the last 2, but I will say this. I mean, they are 12-5 on the road this year. So that's with back-to-back losses. So they've kept those games close as on the road. I don't know anything about Taylor Clark, who they're throwing tonight.
Well, he's a young right-hander. Hasn't had much work in the majors. He's just had 1 relief appearance, which was pretty good. I don't know. The thing of it is, Tampa hasn't seen him at all. And first time around, even ordinary pitchers can sometimes look really good against hitters who've never seen them before. So, in a sense, maybe if you're looking for a game to take a chance, it might not be a bad one here with the Diamondbacks because the Rays are, pretty big favorites. But this would be, to me, their weakest pitching combination of Stanek and then Beeks, who is kind of an ordinary guy to me. So, if you want to gamble, that might not be the worst spot to take a shot with the Diamondbacks. Time to bring in Jeff Sherman for our Tuesday session with one of the main people at Superbook USA. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Excellent. How's it going, guys?
Good. We didn't talk about any NBA yet. We wanted to save that for you, and lots to talk about here. Let's begin with a review of last night's win, the 2 wins by the Bucks and the Rockets. It's really tough to make a case for the Celtics having much of a chance to come back in this series. Look, maybe they can pull an upset in Game 5, but the way Kyrie Irving is playing right now, it really looks like they're done.
Yeah, and that's the big problem with it. When you look at this is a superstar league, especially when you get in the playoffs. And right now, Boston, they don't have any superstars. Kyrie Irving is a good all-star player, but he's not like an Antetokounmpo or a Kawhi Leonard, and they just don't have that. It's a team of a bunch of role players, and they really are reliant upon Irving leading the way. And he hasn't been doing that the last couple of days. Now they're in this position. And it looks to be where Milwaukee should end this thing tomorrow night.
I wonder about the confidence level of the Celtics, too, because Game 4 was really bad for them. They got off to a pretty good start. Looks like, hey, this might be even. And in the second half, they just got croaked by the Bucks. And at the end of that game, there wasn't much doubt as to which was the better team.
Yeah, it's been crazy, this series, where the Bucks have started out slow in the first quarter and then found something during the halftime and had solid third quarters. So, it's in Game 1, I loved what Stevens did, and that was a tribute to him for getting that win in Milwaukee. But since that point, Budenholzer's been right there with what Stevens has been doing.
I think Boston probably had some emotion going in, getting Marcus Smart back and thinking, we're going to be able to D up better. Well, they allowed 50.6% shooting. That's the first time they allowed over 50% since March 14th when they played Sacramento. Jeff, turning our attention to the other game last night, let's see. Every bookmaker in America is probably ecstatic that this series is tied 2-2 with the volume going to be coming in Game 5. What was the handle like on that Rockets-Golden State game?
Oh, it was tremendous, just like we expected it to be. And it was mostly on the Warriors side. We actually closed the Warriors as a 1-point favorite after opening Houston -2. So it was a really solid game for the book. Now they turn to Golden State, and the thing is, now it's getting late in the series. We're tied 2-2 here. Golden State, their starters, which they don't have a solid bench, they're playing a lot of minutes, and it's a physical game, and these guys are looking like they're getting worn down in these games, and that might be a problem going forward.
So let's just